Podcast City Network.
Meet the Mets, meet the Mets. Step right up and greet the Mets. Bring your kiddies, bring your wife. Guaranteed to have the time of your life, because the Mets are really socking the ball, knocking those home runs over the wall. East side, west side.
Welcome to the Rip Griffin Show with Brad Chandler, a baseball podcast that is a part of the Podcast City Network. Follow them on Twitter at Rip Griffin Show. Here are your hosts, Rip Griffin and Brad Chandler.
Oh, they're hollering and cheering and they're jumping in their seats. Where do they go? To meet the Mets. All the fans are true to the orange and blue. So hurry up and come on down.
In your opinion, what are some of those things, some of those issues that need to be sort of corrected?
Analytics is taking over the game, too much. Analytics are great, they're good, but they don't need to take over the game, that's something that's just, it's not right, let the players play the game. The game is heading in the wrong direction. You're rewarding teams for losing, team loses 100 games and they get money at the end of the year, because the bigger market teams, or the teams that decided to spend money, spend too much money and won. They got to give money away to help other teams. There's money in the industry, and we want it to be fair for everybody. We want the players to make money, we want the owners to make money, and you want everybody else to make money and the fans to enjoy the game,
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to this episode of the Rip Griffin Show. As you just heard, our team of the week is the Mets. That was Francisco Lindor in his press conference just the other day talking about the analytics in baseball. As always, joined with me this evening on this podcast is my co-host, Brad Chandler. Brad, what's going on, man?
Not a whole hell of a lot. What is going on with you, Rip?
Oh, doing pretty good. I was in the middle of sending some tweets and posting some stuff on social media when that cut out, so I apologize if there was a little delay there. But joining us on this episode is the other half of the Breaking Balls podcast, John Snyder. John, what's going on, man?
It's that guy.
That guy.
Yeah, that guy. I go by many names. Sometimes people get my name wrong on purpose. I roll with all of it. Thanks for having me, guys. How you guys doing?
We are great to have you. Like I mentioned, it's the other half of the Breaking Balls podcast. We did have your cousin and your host, Emily, on just a few weeks ago, talk about the Yankees. But this week is all Mets.
All right.
And we are excited to get this show on the road. So we've got a lot of news to cover, so we'll jump into that here. And then the second and third segments, we'll jump into our team of the week, which is the New York Mets. But to kind of kick things off with the news is I don't know how to put it. He is a seasoned veteran pitcher, kind of running into his age 41 season. Rich Hill has signed with the Tampa Bay Rays. I don't know if I should be excited or if I should be wondering if it's time for him to retire.
I don't know, man. I mean, I often give the Rays the benefit of the doubt when it comes to pitching, so I don't want to judge too quickly. But 41, it's multiple red flags, I would say.
I mean, it is Rich Hill. I mean, 41 is a pretty old age for baseball, should I say? I mean, he's not Nelson Cruz. I mean, I don't know. They traded Blake Snell and then they went and got Rich Hill. That was their response. There's like, we'll trade Blake Snell because we got Rich Hill.
Well, yeah, it continues that pattern of, once they got to pay someone, well, he can go elsewhere and we'll fill the gap, cheaply and oldly, I guess.
We can expect Rich Hill to be taken out after 72 pitches.
Safe bet.
Exactly.
That's probably the most pitches he's going to throw all year.
We know he won't be making it that third trip through the lineup. So
not that kind of pitcher.
Not anymore.
No.
But yes, the Rays pick up a pitcher. We'll see how that pans out for them.
They actually picked up a couple pitchers. They brought back Chris Archer as well.
Yes, they did. And well, maybe second time around. Maybe he was always a dynamic pitcher when he was his first round with the Rays. But he kind of, I guess when you go to Pittsburgh, you kind of, lose part of your technique, career, whatever.
Yeah,
But
nothing good comes out of Pittsburgh these
No,
days in baseball.
no.
You go to
Wow.
Pittsburgh to die, just like you do when you go to Baltimore. we
Something
literally
about
had
that area of the country, right?
we seriously we just had a diehard Baltimore Orioles fan on a couple weeks ago, and I
Oh, that
really
poor
wanted
bastard.
to. I really wanted to say some things, but she's like super nice, and she really knows the Orioles.
Right.
So it's like I don't want to shit over them at all that much, but
I have a good friend like that. It's like you expend so much energy being a baseball fan, and for the Orioles, though, oof.
Yeah. It was-
I mean, I can't talk. My team only just got somewhat competent, so I mean, let's stay in my lane, I guess.
I don't know. It seems like the Mets are being the Mets still.
I mean, I think that part of that. I mean, we'll get into it later, I guess. But part of that is cleaning up the mess of the Wilpons was not going to get not going to get cleaned up in 3 months. Put it that way.
oh gosh, that was just nasty.
Oh yeah.
I feel for you. We'll kind of touch on that here in just a little bit, but I feel for you, for the fans, the ownership, the employees, the players, of everything that they had to go through with the Wilpons. But the Cubs, they didn't go after John Lester, but they actually brought back a couple guys, one of them being Jake Arrieta. So that's going to be a nice new addition. It's one guy's gone, one guy comes back. He seems to be fitting in nicely, especially down there in spring training with the Cubs. And they also brought back I don't know, they didn't bring back. Sorry, they brought in Brandon Workman, so they've kind of added some depth with their rotation, which is good. Something they needed to address.
The Workman thing didn't really strike me as odd because of the fact that he's an ex-Red Sox player, and a lot of the old Red Sox players go over to Chicago. I mean, they're ex.
Where Red Sox go to die.
Basically. I mean, you got David Ross as the manager over there, and I don't know. I hope that Workman has a better year than he did last year.
Yeah,
I mean, he really didn't do all that much for the Phillies. He helped the Red Sox. I mean, they traded him at the right time.
yeah. I had his stats, and then I lost it here. I was going to try to see how he here it is right here. How he did in 2020.
Shitty.
Yeah.
Briefly, yeah.
1-4 with a 5.95 ERA, had 9 saves and 19.2 innings. So, yeah, not the best in the way of pitching, but
And I mean, Arrieta's not exactly a spring chicken either. He's like what, 35-ish? Maybe just
He's
under
right up
35?
there.
yeah, he's up there in age as well. So, but Arrieta, he's a fan favorite with the Cubs.
Oh yeah.
So I think bringing him back, I mean, just like John Lester was. John Lester was a fan favorite. So I think they're trying to kind of build on whatever was lost with Lester by bringing back Arrieta. So
Well,
that's
Do you think Arrieta is going to have an open tab for the entire city of Chicago like Lester did? No.
if they start winning.
No.
Yeah, that's a good point. Does he earn the tab?
But yeah, like I said, the Cubs adding some depth. We'll see how it kind of pans out going into the opening day. Ron Renicky is now with the Dodgers as an assistant. So the Dodgers kind of adding some coaching experience. I don't know what you guys think about this signing.
A little weird. It seemed as though like he was done with coaching, especially after being fired by the Red Sox last year. I understand it though. I guess he lives out in California, so he gets to stay close to home.
Okay, well, it makes sense.
So there's that.
Yeah.
I don't really know how much more talking points you can have on Ron Renicky. I mean, he had a shitty team to coach last year,
Right.
so he coached the Brewers, right?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
that I think he coached the Brewers before he went to the Red Sox, or he came out of retirement or something like that, and
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think he was out of retirement. So
he
but,
became the bench coach for Alex Cora.
yes, yeah, and for Craig Counsell as well when he was with the Brewers. So, but anyways, moving on. Mitch Moreland is an Athletic now. He went from the Padres after the Padres decided not to offer him any sort of contract. So now he's with the Athletics. He signed a $2.25 million deal. Now this is interesting because the Athletics, they traded away Chris Davis. Of course, they got back Elvis Andrus. Marcus Semien is now gone. And, oh gosh, his name is the relief pitcher. I completely
Hendricks.
Hendricks is gone. So they kind of freed up some more room for them, and they had another signing we'll get to in just a minute. But more than to the Athletics, what do you guys think about how he fits into their scheme?
I mean, what strikes me more is what a shitty time to not be a Padre suddenly, right?
Right.
Right.
More so than how he's going to do with the Athletics. That's what strikes me.
Well, the problem is like with the Athletics, they're not implementing the DH, and he's really not a position player anymore. I mean, he's getting up there in age. He's basically a DH, and being in the National League, he wasn't going to get a lot of playing time. I mean, what was he going to do? Trade off with Hosmer? So I think it sucks that he went to the Athletics because, Red Sox fan here, I believe Mitch Moreland's worth more than $2.25 million. But, I mean, Chaim Bloom didn't think so. So, I mean, I can't fight with that.
Yeah. I did an article on the Moreland signing last week, and he is a left-handed bat, something that they needed to add to their lineup. And he has the ability, like you said, to DH, but he also can play first base, so he can kind of Matt Olson is going to be the everyday first baseman for the Athletics. But on a day that when he needs a day off, Moreland can come in and play first base and he's a pretty effective defensive first baseman. So the playing time won't be there, but I can kind of see him filling a role or a need when called upon. So I think it'd be okay. Maybe something if something opens up to a competitor or a contender, that Moreland might be traded. I mean, it's just something we'll see. We'll see what happens on that one. But so one of the big talks this offseason is where the Blue Jays are going to be playing, especially with the Canadian border being shut down and nobody able to go in or out, is where the Blue Jays are going to start opening day. It looks like it's going to be the first two games are their spring training at their spring training facility in TD Ballpark in Dundon, Florida. Is this surprising at all to you guys?
I would say no. I mean, I don't think look at the trajectory everything is going with COVID. There was no way they were going to be going back and forth into Canada. I think maybe the only surprising thing is that it's in Florida versus Buffalo. That's a little surprising. I thought that was kind of a good move last year. At least get yourself kind of close-ish to your home city. But hey, who knows? Maybe, I mean, the logistical aspects of just keeping everything in Florida when everyone else is moving around, maybe that's advantageous to them. And they're not necessarily committing to doing the entire season there. So who knows? Maybe they start for a few months. Maybe by the All-Star break, they're in Buffalo or even Toronto. It all depends on, again, the trajectory of the virus at this point.
As of right now, they're expecting to play the first two games in their spring training. I would have expected maybe like the first month of the season down in Florida because of weather. It being a little cold up in Buffalo, probably. I mean, that's the only thing. That's the only thing I would possibly be able to think of. But I mean, Buffalo. Hey, they were talking last year that they were going to come to Hartford, and I would have been a-okay with that.
Oh yeah, because they have a sick minor league stadium there, right?
Dude, it's beautiful.
I've heard. Yeah, I got to get up there when this is all over. I'm right in Long Island, so it's close.
Let me know, dude. I got season tickets.
Sweet.
I don't have season tickets, but my company has season tickets, and I get six seats.
Well, the only minor around here is the Ducks, and I love the Ducks, but the ballpark is so that sounds great.
This place is beautiful, and they've got seats literally right behind home plate.
Ah, that's sick. Very
I
cool.
got to razz Tim Tebow.
Oh yeah. Tim Tebow, R.I.P. Well, not literally, but from baseball.
So, well, I guess we can touch on Tebow here in a minute because I want to get your thoughts on that. Since
Sure.
when we get into our second segment, we'll touch.
He
on
was
Tebow.
garbage.
There was
He made it to the minors. Congratulations, but he didn't bat over 200 at all in like AA or AAA. And they only brought him in because of his name. That was it.
There was a. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to say no argument here. You're 100% right. I mean, as far as I don't even know what the word I want to use because I don't want to be too harsh. Because I like Tebow at the end of the day, but it's a little bit of a stunt. A little bit of a let's sell some spring training tickets, some minor league tickets. I don't know if he was a detrimental presence per se, but like to think that you heard some like super optimistic writers being like, oh, he could make the majors. Like he was never making the majors. Homeboy was never making AAA. Like, let's be real.
He made AAA in 2018, didn't he?
Oh, he did make AAA. Oh,
Yeah. Yeah.
Shows you how closely I was paying attention to Tim Tebow's career trajectory in baseball.
The one game that I saw him at, he went like fucking one. He went like 1 for 5. And like that one hit he got was because I left.
Man, I mean, Tebow's feel good, like, because I'm a big football fan too. So, the whole, he never bothered me. I thought he's a guy trying to do what he believes. He's a good guy. That's all good and well. And, the whole baseball thing, it's like, hey, if he were to make the majors, what a story. But it's not happening. Let's get real.
That was a Brody thing, man.
Oh, completely. Let's sell some tickets. Let's make some cheddar. Yeah.
There was a glimmer of hope for me. I was hoping that he would make it because, like you said, it would be a fascinating story to say the least.
Well,
but
I'll say that, like, had he made it, I would have been right there at Citi Field losing my goddamn mind, but it was just not going to happen.
But ESPN and the things that he does with that, it's he's going to be safe in that route, going that route.
He'll be just fine. He's not going to have any shortage of opportunities.
Yeah. No.
He was probably making less money playing for the Mets than he was with endorsements.
I was going to say, this is almost a promotion, if we're being honest, for him. This is an upgrade.
Him not playing baseball, he's probably making more money.
Right, it's true. He probably get paid more as a football analyst.
That is true.
Don't forget the endorsements.
Broncos Old Timers Day. Tons of opportunities.
Best of luck to Tim Tebow in his future endeavors. So,
yeah, sure.
But going back to the Athletics real quick, they did get some bullpen relief with signing Trevor Rosenthal. This one seems to be a just throw money and see what happens because they signed him to a 1-year, $11 million deal.
Is that like the biggest contract they've ever given somebody?
I would have to venture and say yes, because Billy Beane and the Oakland Athletics don't give out large contracts, as we all can attest to Moneyball.
No, they made a whole movie about it. Yeah.
But it seems like they were trying to put a Band-Aid over a wound with Liam Hendricks leaving, going to Chicago, the White Sox. I think they could have got somebody. I mean, Rosenthal he's been effective, but not $11 million effective.
No, but I mean, I think you nailed it when you said it's all about replacing Hendricks. And at that point, what option do you have but to throw money at the wall and hope something sticks, right?
Right, exactly. But
I mean, at least they weren't dumb enough to pay someone, $40 million for 1 year,
or
$45 million, or $45 million for a second year. A guy who's who's only had 2 years with an ERA under like 4.18 twice.
Seriously.
I don't know who we're talking about. I'm sorry.
Well,
No, yeah, you're being very vague.
very, but I've got a game that we're going to throw out in the second segment that maybe we can kind of, put everything together. So, Brad, what happened with Chris Sale?
He ended up coming out saying that he had COVID-19 symptoms back in January, but this is weird because I think he had COVID last year. And from my understanding, I'm not Fauci or anything, but I thought you could only get it like once.
No.
Yeah, there's been cases of like I know in some doctors and stuff working at hospitals, they'll get it twice because they're not. I mean, it's not a science podcast, but they don't know 100% with the antibodies. How quickly they go away, how much resistance it gives you. Yeah, so you got to play it safe with everything these days.
Yeah, it was like last year around January, he had flu symptoms, which they came out and said that was possibly he ended up COVID. And then this year, January, he had COVID symptoms. Dude, just stay in your goddamn house.
Exactly.
Like you're getting paid enough. Like put on your mask, stay inside, order out takeout.
Aren't you supposed to be recovering from Tommy John anyways?
Right?
Well, he's still got to throw.
Like,
He's still got to throw.
Oh,
yeah, throw in your backyard.
He's got to go outside. He's got to go outside.
Well, in your backyard, you'll be okay.
Unless you're Mitch Moreland and you can build a barn,
Yeah, that's
a batting
true.
cage in your barn.
Oh, that's the dream. I mean,
that was Joey Gallo built a batting cage in his apartment in Arlington. Yeah.
That was my favorite. Like when Brandon Nimmo was coming up, he's from Wyoming, and one of the anecdotes they said was like, there was no college ball to play, so he just played travel ball up there, and it was so fucking cold. Pardon my language. It was so cold up there that his dad converted their barn into a giant batting cage for him, and just the entire thing was fantastic.
Hey, just so you know, we had your cousin on here,
yes.
And she's got the foulest of foul mouths, so you're perfectly fine.
All right, fuck yeah.
Yeah, let's do it.
It's already explicit.
I was going to say, I got through like almost the first half of this, not cursing much, so now I'm just playing catch up. I figure I'm good compared to him.
Fuck it.
Let's do it. So the Phillies went out just right before spring training and re-signed JT Realmuto to that. What was it?
I think it was 115 million, 6 years, something like that.
0.5 or something like that.
Yeah,
it had a 0.5 in there. But now he's ended up with a fractured right thumb, and so the Phillies are hoping that he will be ready for opening day. Not something you want to happen to your high-profile, high-priced catcher. Just a mere days into spring training.
115, just so you know.
It was 115. Okay.
115.5.
0.5. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's to bring it back to the Mets. It's not as much of a bullet dodged as Bauer, which we'll get into. But there's definitely an aspect. There's definitely an aspect of we were at least considering him. He was in a lot of conversations for us early in the offseason. And it's not like a Bauer where I'm glad he's not here. I would still like to have Real Muto, but if he's going to be hurt, that's a little bullet dodge for the Mets. I'll take that.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. Didn't Heyman say, who was it? Not Heyman. There was another Twitter guy who said that Bauer was going to the Mets. Who was that?
Oh, Nightingale.
Bob
Nightingale.
He got.
We should expect no less though from him. Like, come on.
He got trolled hard after that. He was like,
he was asking for it.
That was so funny. Like 5 days later, what do you mean Bauer's with the Dodgers? I thought he was with the Mets.
He's not with some rink. I mean, he's with USA Today. That's a national publication. Like, what are you doing, Bob?
How can anybody take any of these writers very seriously? Because they all tend to put out something so quick and so fast.
You know what, man? I think Twitter is the worst thing to happen to these people since they got their jobs, whenever they did, 20, 30, 40 years ago.
I'll take Rosenthal over all of them.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, think about it. For how many years they were just printing newspaper articles, and they didn't have to deal with feedback in a real way. You want to talk about that like early 2000s, like, yeah, okay, the articles were online and there was a comment section. Twitter is totally different, man. They're dealing with this shit in real time. Like, they're being held accountable, and a lot of them don't like it, and I really like it. I'm pretty jazzed by the whole thing, if I'm being honest.
What kind of see? Kind of moving on. COVID has hit AL Cy Young Award winner from 2020, Shane Bieber. So now he's going to be quarantined for the next 14 days. So
Is it 14 or is it 10?
I thought it was still 14.
I don't know what the protocol is with MLB right now. I thought they changed it to 10.
Maybe it might be 10.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Huh. But I kind of skipped over this real quick. Did y'all read the article from Blake Snell?
Yes.
Or did you hear about that, John?
Can you be more specific? I might have missed that.
So Blake Snell came out and put out an article with the Players Tribune talking about the World Series Game 6 when he got pulled.
Right. I didn't see that he wrote an article. No.
Yeah. So he wrote an article. You have to check that out. We'll put that in the show notes. But he wrote an article kind of explaining what kind of transpired through his whole thought process between when he talked about when he was dealing and everybody knew he was dealing, and for Kevin Cash to come out and pull him after, he was with the 6th inning or something like that he was trying to make it. Yeah. But he talked about that, and then he talked about, he kind of understood the analytics part, but he still felt that he should have stayed in the game, which I will agree to this 100% because he was, in fact, he was on. Excuse me. And then he talked about after getting pulled and then going into the offseason and then finding out when he got traded to the Padres, and he was kind of, in shock almost. But if you haven't checked out that article, it's very interesting. He kind of laid everything out, honestly, and just let it all for everybody else to read. So it's something very interesting to read.
I'll definitely check that out.
I actually just sent you the link, but I pulled up the COVID protocols. Individuals who test positive will be required to isolate for a minimum of 10 days, receive appropriate care and monitoring from the club medical staff, and be cleared by the joint committee and the individual's team's physician following a mandatory cardiac evaluation and a determination that the individual no longer presents a risk of infection to others. So it's a minimum of 10 days.
Okay. So we were in the ballpark, but Shane Bieber will definitely have to sit out for the next 10 days. And I think he has to have 2 negative tests before he can actually return back to spring training. So hopefully, best of luck to him, and hopefully he can get back. Yes, Brad.
Okay, so I'm gonna go on to the next one. So this was my favorite report on Twitter because they said that ex-Yankees player Johnny Damon was arrested. Yes, it was in the New Jersey.
Well, wait, hang on. The question is though, what picture did they use? Did they use like caveman Red Sox Damon or like clean shaven corporate Damon?
Clean shaven. He was wearing the Yankees everything.
That's Yankee Damon.
Yep, that was Yankee Damon.
Oh, shit.
Dude, his what is it? The picture that they take of you?
The mugshot.
Yeah, your mugshot was hilarious. Him and his wife got he got arrested for a DUI. His wife got arrested for, I forgot what it was. She also got arrested though. Michelle Mangan Damon was arrested for battery on law enforcement officer and resisting arrest.
Oh, that's not a good look.
Yeah, but it's a Damon, so they'll get away with it. They'll get like a slap on the wrist and be like, "Here, give us like $1 million and you'll be fine."
I mean, you never want to laugh too hard at a DUI, but yeah, that is kind of funny.
I mean, it's not nearly as bad. I mean, like, imagine if he was on a phone with Tony La Russa And he was like, "Hey, what do I tell him?" He'd be like, "Just tell him you're a baseball person."
Yeah, Tony Luis just like, I know exactly. Say exactly what I tell you to say, and you'll be fine.
You are a former Major League Baseball person.
So I'm gonna keep going a little bit. We're gonna talk about the Mets for a second. The Mets signed Kevin Pillar. You lucky bastards.
Yeah, I was pretty happy with that overall. I mean, everything since the one guy that I really wanted was Springer, which obviously didn't pan out. But yeah, so under the circumstances, I'm pretty happy with Pillar. I mean, especially if that means that it's not going to be all Almora Jr. That's good. I'm a big fan of that personally.
Now, would you prefer to have Pillar or Bradley Jr.?
That's tough, man. It's a little bit of a loaded question, and I bring this up on Breaking Balls occasionally because like JBJ is a Boris guy, and Boris was looking for I think like 4 years, and
forget the
like
agents
just,
and
all other things equal.
Player.
That's damn close. I would almost probably have to say JBJ just for the defense. But
his defense is a lot better. They're
about, want to talk well-rounded. Pillar's a little more,
They're around right here because Pillar's been dipping a little bit with his offense.
Right.
And Junior he's an 8-hitter, 9-hitter, depending on what league he's going to be in.
As soon as Springer went to the Jays, it was kind of like, all right, what's the contingency plan? It's probably going to be a platoon, which, I mean, not that that's worked out great for the Mets in recent years, like look at Marisnik and all those guys. But that said, Pillar is a level above that, obviously. So I'm definitely optimistic. I think that our lineup is good enough that like it wasn't going to be a make or break thing with who's playing center field, in my opinion. So overall, I'm pretty happy with it. I'm optimistic. I think that was a good pickup for us overall.
Yeah, I think it is too. Like I said, lucky bastards. And which actually brings us to our next topic is Jackie Bradley Jr. still being a free agent with spring training actually getting ready to start. And where do you think he's going to end up? A lot of people still think he's going to end up in Boston. I don't see it.
You know what? That's the only gut reaction I would have is that he just winds up staying in Boston. Nothing else really like sticks out as an obvious answer. You know what I mean? And I think that's kind of evidenced by the fact that he still doesn't have a team and players are reporting.
What about now, Rip? Aren't you guys still looking for a center fielder?
Well, right now we've got Miles Straw, but there's no way that the Astros can be able to afford Jackie Bradley at what he's asking for, which is 4 years, $60 million.
I think that's the prohibitive part. That's why I think he's kind of shooting himself in the foot there.
Now, the thing that strikes me funny is I follow Will Middlebrooks, who's an ex-Red Sox player, and he said that Jackie Bradley Jr. hasn't received one phone call.
Really?
That's interesting.
Which is extremely interesting to me. I mean, if that's the case, the guy's going to be signing for a 1 or 2 year deal. And with people saying that he's going to return to the Red Sox. Here's the reason why I don't think he returns to the Red Sox. The Red Sox have Franchi Cordero. They have Alex Verdugo. They have Hunter Renfroe. They have Kiki Hernandez. And they've got Jaron Duran down at AAA right now, who's going to be our future center fielder. So right there, you got 6 people for the outfield. Where are you going to put Bradley?
Right.
So, I mean, the 40-man roster is all tied up right now.
Well, I think you touched on it. Like, as much as for the thought experiment, you want to say, okay, Boris aside, but Boris is one of those guys that it's tough to put aside. Like, he makes himself a very real factor in many of his clients, and I think this is one of those examples. It could be a case.
If his client was actually any good, besides being defense,
well, that would help if you could justify a 3 or 4 year contract for essentially a one-sided player. That'd be different, but it's kind of tough to do. It's tough
$60 million for 4 years.
No, thank you.
No. I think we're gonna see. I have a feeling what's going to happen is a team's going to have a need later on in the season, possibly, and they're going to.
He'll end up in Baltimore.
Yeah. They've got probably they're gonna have some. They still have some money to spend. I mean, they're still rebuilding. So
Are you sure?
Or,
Because it
I
doesn't.
mean, to circle it back, isn't Chicago, we determined, where Red Sox go to die? Maybe they'll just put him out to pasture in Wrigley.
oh
maybe.
yeah.
I don't know if he fits there at all, but
But yeah, well, he's still a free agent, and spring training is underway, and he's still without a team. So,
I mean, the Brewers are in on him.
oh yeah,
I forgot about that.
supposedly.
So, and I mean, maybe he could fit there. I don't know. But you guys hear about the Mariners CEO?
oh boy, yeah, that was a shit.
I tweeted to the Mariners earlier today. I was like, "I'll be your new CEO."
Right? If anybody's,
I mean, you're probably qualified.
More qualified than that clown.
Yeah, exactly.
and he had been with that organization for over 20 years.
Well, obviously, he's not doing anything right. They haven't been to the playoffs in almost 20 years.
But
It's so sad to see that that's the only team in all of MLB that has not made it to the World Series.
it really is, and
Yeah, but you kind of understand why hearing that bullshit.
Yeah, exactly. Now,
one of the things that obviously there was several things that were leaked in this video that obviously I didn't get a chance to watch. I don't know if you guys did because it was taken down so quick. Was the fact that he did talk about the manipulation of service time between players, pertaining to last season on the Mariners, that they did bring up a lot of players that, actually they held players back, that were probably ready, which is something that we've seen throughout Major League Baseball, primarily Chris Bryant with the Chicago Cubs. They held him back. The Astros held back George Springer and other notable players throughout the league. So let me ask you, is it really worth it to hold these guys back, to hold these players back?
that's going to be in the CBA. I'm pretty sure that's going to be a topic that's brought up in the CBA at the end of this year because so much of that's been going on.
Well, that's part of why this is so explosive because, he's saying the quiet part out loud, essentially, and now the players have something specific to point to. It's like, we don't even have to accuse them anymore. We have him on record, talking to a goddamn Rotary Club, which, by the way, this is purely speculation on my part. It's got to be some level of like old dude doesn't understand how the internet works and thinks that he's in some like CCTV thing, not realizing that like, no, man, it's on the internet. That's going to get leaked. People are going to hear this. And I don't know, thinking he's giving like investors some inside track or something. It's batshit crazy on the surface. Like it's almost, you can't believe he went into the detail that he did. Even if it's like one of their reveals, like even if it was just about the service time manipulation, that would be explosive. But he just goes on and just digs the grave. It's crazy.
Yeah, and one of the things that he talked about was he talked about the players using a translator, primarily Japanese players.
Yeah.
And Seattle
Players ripped him on that one.
Yeah,
rightfully so.
Seattle is primarily a very international town. I mean, it does consist of a lot of Chinese and Japanese type people, and that's what the Mariners were known for. Where they were bringing in these international players, and they kind of he just shot themselves in the foot because now these international players are probably not going to want to come to Seattle. So he put them in a bind there, and also poking fun at the players on their English, because English is not their first language.
That's what was weird to me, that he leaned that heavily into it, because it started out, the first one had to do with, he was complaining about having to pay for a translator, which is like, all right, I guess. But then he just, for no reason, unprompted, started just criticizing players' English and they don't speak English well. It's like, nobody asked for that. Nobody was asking you that. He just brought it up completely unprompted.
It's almost like he had it, like this is what he wanted to talk about. He had his notes, and he wanted to make sure that he got this across, thinking that it wasn't going to get leaked, and obviously it did. But it almost seems like it was premeditated. So
I bet you he didn't think that he was getting recorded by the Rotary Club. I'm with John on that. It was like
that's what I'm saying.
Some old dude, and there was like, oh, what's the smartphone thing do? Tap, tap, tap. He's like, shit, something red. It says recording. Okay, here, I put it there.
Yeah, because there's no way that he woke up that morning thinking like, I'm gonna torpedo my job. Let me write some notes. This is what I want to touch on. Let me get fired by the end of the day. Like, no way.
Yeah.
I don't want this job anymore. I've been here 20 years. I put in my 20 years. It's time for me to retire.
How can I most explosively quit my job?
Quit.
But ultimately, he has resigned. He resigned on Monday, February 22nd. So he is no longer with the Seattle Mariners. So,
Thank God.
so let's go ahead and jump in. Let's go ahead and talk some Mets baseball and get
All
your
right.
thoughts on some things. So one of the things that happened just today actually was Uncle Steve Cohen, is back on Twitter.
He's back, baby.
And
Yeah. I ended up tweeting at him. I said, "Are you guys cool? Are you now all cool with El Presidente of Barstool? That you guys squash your beef now?" And I tagged him too. So I'm expecting something back. Hopefully,
See if he
Stevie,
gets
get
back
at
to
me. Stevie, get at me, bro.
Come on, Uncle Steve. Come on. But it's good to see him back on Twitter. I know he took a little brief, what do you call
Little hiatus.
a
Hiatus?
little hiatus?
Yeah.
We'll call it that.
For less than a month,
Yeah. To kind of let things cool down after.
he needed to put his crown back on.
Well, I always had a feeling he would come back. I'm a little surprised. I thought it would be in the middle of the season. I didn't think it would be this soon. But,
Nah.
you know, say what you will about him. He's clearly a smart guy. He felt the temperature in the room. It got too hot, let it blow over, and now he's back. And you know how fast the news cycle moves. Now everyone's on to something else.
I thought it was hilarious. All these people were like, "Oh, he's a scumbag." It's like, nah, $1 billion guy, a guy who has billions of dollars,
they
isn't
all
a
are.
fucking scumbag.
You don't get $1 billion by being scrupulous. It's just not
Yeah.
how it works.
He's a super nice billionaire.
Yeah.
How many of those?
So
do you
relatable.
know?
So John, how long have you been a Mets fan?
I've been a Mets fan pretty much my entire life. My dad's a Yankees fan. I liked baseball before I settled into the Mets. My dad's a Yankees fan from a Mets fan family. That's Emily's dirty little secret, is most of our family is Mets fans. She's the odd man out. So yeah, I mean, I can date at least back to the 2000 World Series, I would say confidently. Before that, I just liked watching baseball. I remember even watching the Yankees in the late 90s with my dad and rooting for them in the World Series. I'm not a Yankees hater, definitely not a Yankee hating Mets fan. They make me roll my eyes sometimes, the fan base especially, but I'm not a hater. I couldn't survive on breaking balls if I was a Yankee hater. Let's be real.
So I got a question for you.
Yeah.
Do you know why their colors are orange and blue?
Yeah, New York was originally colonized by the Dutch, and the colors of the Netherlands are blue and orange. Like if you look at the Olympics and stuff like that.
So I thought it was the Dodgers and the Giants.
Oh well, okay. So I went way too far back with the history of it, but yeah, when I'm like, wow, we're going back to the 1600s with Peter Stuyvesant. Cool. No, so it was. They took the orange and the NY symbol from the Giants when they split for San Francisco, and they took the Dodger blue and the Dodger script. They write Mets. That's actually Dodger script.
Okay.
Yeah, and the home the Snow Whites, those are like Dodger uniforms, and our away uniforms, they still kind of look similar to the Giants uniforms, even with the same script and stuff like that. So yeah, they made no secret that when the Mets were formed in the early 60s, 62, I believe, they were clearly there to replace the NL teams that had lost, and they made no bones about that.
That's interesting. I never noticed the script on the jerseys that they're.
If you look, it's very similar. Yeah.
And Brad's got one. He's got his DeGrom jersey.
Oh yeah.
It doesn't say Mets though.
No, but yeah. So if you look on the old New York Giants jerseys, they would have New York written in a very similar, if not the same font.
Okay, that's interesting. I never put that together.
I knew the
And
team
fun
had a
fact. I was going to say, fun fact, the Mets pinstripe uniforms are actually a tribute to the Yankees. When they made them, they took a little bit from everything. They took the least from the Yankees, but I know, but they got a little bit from them. You know, I would join you with this, but those pinstripes just look so clean, man. Like I can't hate on them.
I have a New
Classic.
York Mets pinstripe. But I'm doing this because the fat guy behind the home plate.
Oh,
You know
yeah.
what I'm talking about?
Oh, I remember. I was at that game.
Okay. So,
All right,
who was
fat guy.
who was your favorite player growing up?
I would go with
Piazza.
David Wright. Was probably my favorite. I was also a big Endy Chavez fan, and that's before the catch in 06. I liked Endy for his hustle. But my first Mets jersey was David Wright, so I got to give props to the captain.
Very nice, very nice. So we talked about a player just a little while ago. We didn't give any names,
Douchebag.
but we're going to go ahead and name him now, which would be the
Mickey Mouse Cy Young Award winner.
Trevor Bauer. So what were your thoughts when you saw Noah Syndergaard and Trevor Bauer going back and forth on Twitter?
Pretty much everything that Bauer has done on social media since he signed with the Dodgers has been a continued sigh of relief for me that we dodged a big old bullet. That was my first. You know what my first thought is, like, you want to have beef on Twitter, like that's all fun, but like this dude would not survive the New York media. He would get eaten alive. He is way too soft, way too thin-skinned. Just no way, man. I mean, he can't even handle himself against the Mets pitchers. What's he going to do against the reporters? So yeah, no, good for you, man. You got your money out in LA. Go play out there, and I'm glad he is not on the Mets. 100%.
Brad, what did you think about this?
I thought it was Bauer trying to stir the pot for something that didn't need to be stirred up. I mean, Syndergaard is out with he's coming back from Tommy John.
Yeah, he should be back mid-season.
So he made a Snyder remark, and Bauer, being the troll that he is, he couldn't just say, nope, shouldn't do this. He was just like,
can't help himself. He cannot help himself but make it about him. And don't get me wrong, Syndergaard was the first one to make it about him, but what he should have said was nothing. He could have just not responded, and it would have been fine. But no, Bauer had to. He couldn't help himself.
Because he's a douchebag.
He is 100%.
But if we had to choose a winner, I'm going to have to go Noah Syndergaard in that battle.
Thor is great on Twitter. Yeah, I don't think Bauer never stood a chance.
Who do you think wins in a fist fight?
Have you seen how tall Syndergaard? Come on. Syndergaard's got the reach, man. Like, he doesn't even need to get within threatening distance of Bauer. Just, he's gone.
They don't call him Thor for no reason.
Exactly. Right? Exactly. So, but kind of finish up here with this second segment here.
Hold on 1 second. I got a question for you, John.
All right.
So obviously we all know how the Wilpons handled the Mets throughout the years.
Don't we ever?
Yeah. So what was your reaction when Uncle Stevie actually became the owner?
I didn't know what to do with my hands. I was so excited. It was one of those things that I didn't. It was one of those things I didn't think was ever going to happen. I thought I was in for another. Fred was going to croak and Jeff was just going to carry it on for another 40 years. Like, that's honestly what I thought. And I guess it sucks that it took a pandemic for it to fully go down, but I'll take the end result all day. I could not believe how serendipitous that was. It feels like a different team. The same way, like, don't get me wrong, I'll always be self-deprecating. I'm a Mets fan, but I used to survive on self-deprecation, and now I actually have a little bit of a leg to stand on, and it's nice. I got to tell you.
Yeah, I mean, they went ahead and they traded for Francisco Lindor and Cookie. That's something that the Wilpons would have never have done.
Right, and that's what I've been saying. Like, don't get me wrong, the offseason got, I think better from there, but even if it had just been that alone was the signal that, like, hey, this is new ownership. We're doing things differently. Like, that was the signal for me.
Now, how would you have reacted if J-Lo and A-Rod bought the team?
Ooh.
Well, I mean, first off, I would have to resign breaking balls, obviously. I could never face Emily again if that were to happen. No, I mean, you know what? At the end of the day, joking aside, I'm not the biggest A-Rod fan, but I would like to think that he would be a good owner because he is a baseball dude. He's a baseball nerd all the way. Honestly, the J-Lo part is the part that made me nervous about that because the details had stuff to do with
You
know
have
some
so many
performances from J-Lo and shit like that.
City Field. Yeah.
It's like, you know what, the after game concert series was already not that good. Like, we don't need to lower the bar with just J-Lo performances once a month. So I mean, I think it would have been an improvement over the Wilpons, but not even remotely close to what we wound up with. That's what I think.
We got a question for you from one of our Facebook people, Craig James. He says, with the addition of Lindor, where do the Mets stack up in the NL East?
It's tough, man, because the NL East got good. You know, we're not the only ones making moves. I would like to think that it's going to be close, but early prediction, I think we have a good shot at taking the division. And I would hope that we take the division because San Diego, well, nothing's a lock, but there's a good chance they're going to wind up in the wild card game. I don't want to face San Diego. I just want to wrap up the division and secure our spot. So yeah, I think we have a really good shot at it. In the NL East, it's tough. It's not a sure thing. You know, Atlanta's good, man. Even I was talking with Emily the other day. Even the Marlins got better. So I mean, nothing is a sure thing.
Did you see what Kim Ng posted or said?
Recently, no.
She said that they are expected to win the division.
That's
I think that's a little bit of a stretch. I think she has to say that. I'll just take the opportunity to congratulate Miss Ng again because I don't agree with her.
Hey, you never know, man.
And that's
they did good last year. Granted, it was only a 60-game season.
Well, it's tough to take away too much from that. You know, you want to take away some, but you know, it's the same way that it's like, you know, I think that Pete Alonso was an anomaly and had a rough year in a short season. I don't think Dom Smith was an anomaly in the short season. You know, so it kind of goes both ways. It's a case by case thing.
So speaking of Dom Smith, you wanted to talk about Dom Smith for your player of the week. Go ahead, Rip, and you take it from here.
So just real quick, shout out to Craig, who is the co-owner of the Podcast City Network that came in with that question with Lindor. I did have one more thing on the Lindor real quick. Do you think the Mets are going to sign him to an extension?
God, I hope so, and I hope it's this spring. You know, he made it clear that he does not want to do in-season negotiations, and I'm with it, man. I mean, he also kind of intimated in his press conference that he didn't want to rush into it, but he would like to get it done this spring. So I think if we fast forward a couple weeks, Zach Scott, our GM, also said there's mutual interest. So I'm hopeful, if not optimistic, that they're going to get something done. I mean, you'd be a fool to get him on the team and not lock him up. I want him extended, and I want Conforto extended.
So Uncle Steve has got some work to do this spring.
That he does.
And I think he'll.
He doesn't have any work to do. All he has to do is this. Everybody else has got to do the work.
Sandy, go sign him. Sign him now.
Right, yeah.
Do it.
Sandy, what do you want? We want to extend Lindor. All right, how much is it going to cost? And here's the blank check.
Yeah, just fill out the amount. Notify my accountant.
So to kind of enter into this third segment, we do our players of the week. And the player you want to talk about, you just talked about him, Dom Smith. So what makes Dom Smith so intriguing to this Mets lineup as he continues to gain experience? He's only been in the league going on his 5th season now. So what makes Dom Smith so intriguing?
Only his 5th season.
Yeah, right.
Right.
It's Dom is so multifaceted. He's such, I mean, for one thing, aside from being a great player, he is such a nice guy. He is such an interesting guy. I don't know if you caught the podcast that they just did with Barry Bonds. They had a fantastic conversation. It's worth checking out. He was talking about, like, you know, what's it like getting walked with the bases loaded and stuff like that.
Put Barry in the Hall of Fame.
So yeah,
right. Yeah.
No argument here. But yeah, no. So Dom is super interesting to me because he's had 2 like borderline, almost kind of breakout seasons in a row. So I think he is poised for big things this year. And my favorite anecdote about Dom is, you know, he's always been good. He's always been, you know, he was always a good prospect. But in 2016, things really changed for him because he got diagnosed with sleep apnea. And it turned out that he wasn't getting good sleep. He wasn't recovering. He through Brody, they got the sleep test. He got the sleep apnea machine, and then suddenly things just turned around for him, and the kid just started mashing. And that's the Dom Smith that we see now. Dom Smith is one of those guys where I was rooting for the universal DH because it would make it a lot easier to fit Alonso and Smith into the same lineup. But Smith is just such a net positive, both at the plate and in the clubhouse, that it's a problem you kind of like to have. If I'm going to have a problem with a player, at least it's a guy like Smith and a guy like Alonso, two good clubhouse guys. So yeah, Smith, I could see becoming a big name in baseball. He's a very, very well-spoken, intelligent young man too. So he has that going for him. And I think that really bodes well for him potentially blowing up in the league.
He's definitely come on, especially last season, going 316 with 10 homers, 42 RBIs. So he's definitely starting to come into his own element as he starts to gain
fourth highest OPS or something like that. He's figuring it out.
Yeah, a 0.993 OPS.
Yeah, not too shabby.
That's pretty. That's insane. Actually,
that's what I'm saying, man.
So he's coming into his. So this would probably be his third year of arbitration.
I think you're right about that. Yeah.
So do you think there's something in the works maybe to get him signed to an extension prior to his free agent year, which would be possibly next year? That's what it looks like.
I think that a lot of that depends on what happens with the DH, because again, he can also play outfield in a way that Alonso can't, because Alonso can't move as well as Smith can. Not that Smith's the fastest guy in the team, but Alonso's particularly slow.
Right.
But yeah, so I mean, it's one of those things where I think they need to see what the rules are going to be before they do that, and I don't think that it's nearly as high. As much as I love Dom, it's not as much of a priority as extending Conforto and especially Lindor. So I think it's got to be something that they're thinking of, but I don't know. Again, I think that the ruling on the DH is really going to be the deciding factor in what you do with Dom.
Okay.
And Alonso, for that matter. I could see them going either way depending on the circumstances.
Right. Well, hopefully the Mets can be able to lock him up, because
I hope so.
He is definitely one to keep an eye on, especially this season. I would like to see what happens if coming off of a 60-game season going into 162, if he can kind of replicate those numbers, because that's 316 batting average. Oh, that's just amazing.
Right? It was a pleasure watching him last year, I'll tell you.
I as a Mets fan, I'm sure you were just elated just to watch him. But it's unfortunate you couldn't see them actually play in person. But
this year, let's hope.
Fingers crossed, right?
That's it.
But we're kind of jump into our Twitter poll. We had a lot of great players on our Twitter poll. And Jacob,
I'm gonna chime in here real quick. I am extremely shocked that nobody voted for
Thank you. I was just about to say that, Brad. I could not believe that shit. It's like, not one vote? If I had known that, I would have voted for him just for a vote.
That's what I'm saying.
Oh man, Doc did not deserve to get done dirty like that. That's all I'm going to say on that.
I was extremely shocked about that.
It's like, come on, Dr. K, what are you doing?
Maybe the people that were following us don't know who Gooden is.
I don't even want to entertain that thought. That's just.
I mean, that is embarrassing, but.
Well, I know you were hoping for straw. You wanted some of those Clubhouse Coke stories, right?
Yeah, I definitely wanted to talk about strawberry because.
Well, I mean, Gooden was the one with the crazy story, missing the World Series parade in '86, waking up in a crack house, all that. That was its own little saga.
Oh boy.
Oh yeah.
But let's jump into our player of the week, which is Jacob deGrom. So Jacob deGrom he's come
the
into
best
his
pitcher in baseball.
That is correct.
And
you said it wrong. You're supposed to say that is correct.
That is correct.
So deGrom, he came into the league in 2014. He is a two-time Cy Young winner, three-time All-Star, a Rookie of the Year 2014, and he had one of the most insane ERAs back in 2018, 1.70. which earned him a ERA title. So what's it like? Have you had a chance to actually see him pitch live?
Oh yeah, it is. My dad told me back in the day, going to talk about Doc Gooden, going to see Doc Gooden pitch, and everybody would be in their seats when the Mets were in the field, and then when the Mets got up, everyone went to, go take a leak, get a beer, because everyone wanted to see Gooden. It's kind of like that with Jake, especially on some of those rough offenses from a few years ago. He's the star of the show, man. It's amazing watching him work. What's crazy is it's just as fun live as it is on TV. Just the movement he gets, the way he carries himself. You really need to pinch yourself occasionally and remind yourself how lucky you are to have him on your team and be able to watch someone like this do his thing in his prime. It's really special.
Do you think he gets pissed off when he gives up one run and then he still loses?
I would think so. He's a professional athlete. He's, of course he gets pissed off, but I also think that he's a very even-keeled, reasonable person. So I think that he keeps it seems at least, I'm speculating. It seems like he keeps it at a reasonable level because he's pretty even-keeled throughout the extent of the season.
What year was it? He had...
even in 2018, he had, the crazy low ERA. He had 10 wins when he won the Cy Young.
Yeah.
It was rough.
Yeah, and then the next year he had a 243 and he had 11 wins.
Right.
And the year before he had a 353 and he had 15 wins and 10 losses.
What was funny too is, do you remember his first few years in the league? He had that long hair that would go nuts when he pitched, right?
Yeah.
You've heard it. You remember Samson and Delilah? Samson was all powerful. He cut his hair off, and then he lost all his power. DeGrom did the reverse. He was a great pitcher. He had long hair. He chops it off, and he starts winning Cy Youngs. It was insane.
Definitely, he's definitely a fierce pitcher. One that, especially guys especially in the NL East, he's one of the top pitchers, and it's exciting to see him pitch. So the Mets, I'm glad the Mets have him, and they have Noah Syndergaard coming back. Marcus Stroman.
That's my boy.
Peterson
as well.
We got Walker for depth. We got some pitching, man. We got some pitching.
It's gonna be exciting to watch the Mets.
I can't wait. I'm optimistic.
It's gonna be
which is saying something as a Mets fan.
At least they have a rotation, unlike the Yankees.
Yeah.
You go Cole to Kluber. That's your 1-2 right there.
You know what? Kluber to me is an unknown. I don't necessarily expect it, but I would also not be surprised if he goes off and he shows up for them. I could see it.
He'll pitch I'm going to say 70 innings.
70? You think
Really?
that's it?
Yep.
Wow.
Interesting. Well, Emily's not going to want to hear that. We'll see how that goes.
Well, and they also brought in Jameson Taillon too. So
That's right. And actually, that kind of refutes our whole thing where everything goes to Pittsburgh to die. That's something good to come out of Pittsburgh is Taillon. So that might actually work out for them.
But Brad, you got anything else to add to Jacob deGrom?
Nope. Just that he's the best pitcher, and he's not getting the $40 million a year.
That he really should.
Screw you, Bauer.
Well, that's another thing. If Bauer's going to get paid that much, how awkward would it have been to have him on the Mets getting paid more than DeGrom? That's just insane on the surface. So that's another level where it's hey, the Dodgers, that's not my problem. Pay him whatever the fuck you want. Just keep him off my team.
How crazy is it that he's going to get $40 million a year and he's not even going to be the ace?
He's not the ace, and I really struggle to see how he's going to live up to that contract. That is such a high bar, and he keeps talking himself into more of a hole. I would be impressed if he lives up to it. That's a
I think he's going to talk himself so far, or he's going to do such a shitty job that he'll be there for the third year.
Wouldn't that be a trip, man? I was so sure
I would
he'd be gone
love
after
that.
two. That would be hysterical.
So what's it going to feel like to go from making 40 million to 45 down to 17 million?
Hopefully he's careful with the first 2 years and invests wisely.
He still has momentum, so I don't think he cares.
But I don't really trust Bauer to do anything wisely, so who knows?
Yeah, exactly. So, John, we got just one more question for you, and we'll wrap up the show. So we close out the show asking each guest what is their favorite all-time baseball movie.
Favorite baseball movie? You know what? Like, nostalgically, it's Field of Dreams, but if I'm being objective, it's Major League. It's the best baseball movie ever made. It just is. I'm a sucker for comedies too. Don't get me wrong. So with that little addendum, though, it's Major League, and it's not particularly close for me.
You can't go wrong with Major League. Definitely can't go wrong with that. It's one of my favorites.
Although best movie that the Mets appear in is probably Men in Black when they land in Shea Stadium.
Oh, that's right.
Oh yeah,
that's right. But Craig says Major League, great movie, absolutely 100%.
That's right, Craig.
So, but
Sandlot.
The Sandlot, yes, that's another good one as well. But John, that's about all we got for this episode, man. We really appreciate you coming on, talking the news with us, and also sharing your stories with the Mets. And it's going to be exciting to see how the Mets do in 2021. We're all excited, especially with Uncle Steve at the helm now.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. This was a lot of fun, and I mean, excited for baseball to come back, and these new Mets especially. It's a good feeling, man. I'm excited. I'm looking forward to it.
It's definitely going to be exciting. Brad, you got anything else to add?
No, sir. Can't wait for the crack of the bat.
It's coming up. Opening day will be here shortly. April 1st is opening day. So spring training is officially underway with pitchers and catchers and full squad workouts. So we will be seeing some games actually coming up this weekend. We got some spring training games coming up. So
all right,
it's going to be exciting to finally watch some baseball after what seems to be forever in a very slow off season. But that's
and I guess I'd be remiss if I didn't take the opportunity to say Breaking Balls comes out on Saturdays. Check it out.
Oh yes, yeah. Give yourself and the show a plug. My apologies.
Yeah. So again, we come out. We do an episode every single Saturday. You could follow us on Twitter at BreakBallsPod, and you could call in. You could contact us on Twitter. All that stuff. Engage with us, and most importantly, check out the show.
And that phone number is.
The phone number is 631-820-7377. We play the voicemails on the air. You can call or text it in, and we'll have a conversation with you.
Oh, it's text now?
You could text too. We actually, if you listen to the last episode, we had one of our regulars wasn't able to call, so he texted. I have a close friend who's a professional actor, so we had him do a dramatic reading of the text in like Shakespearean in the Shakespearean form. So yeah, call, text again. That's 631-820-7377, and new episodes come out on Saturday.
That's awesome. Go check it out. Breaking Balls Podcast. You can follow them on Twitter as well. So that's going to do it for this episode, guys. We appreciate everybody tuning in to those that have watched. And remember to subscribe to the show, rate and review. Let us know how we're doing. And be sure to check out the Podcast City Network and check out all the awesome shows on the network. So that's going to do it for this episode, guys. We appreciate it. Take care.